Hey, welcome to the video today. Today we'll look at the 8 signs of narcissistic abuse. What is narcissistic abuse? Narcissistic abuse is emotional, physical, and financial abuse inflicted by a narcissist. Narcissistic abuse is hard to spot because 1. The abuse is often slow and gradual in intensity, meaning it can go undetected at first. 2. Narcissists are expert manipulators and they use blame shifting to make you feel it's your fault. Number 3. Cognitive dissonance makes it hard for your brain to hold two contradicting views of this one person at the same time, so you often deny your view of their abuse because you have learned that they are actually a nice person initially. Narcissistic abuse. Let's look at narcissistic abuse and cognitive dissonance because it's important to understand. The narcissist often starts as the most charming person you've ever met. They seem to be the perfect fit, and the relationship is intense very fast. You form a perception of who the narcissist is, which is a false image that they portray to you. Once the abuse starts, your mind can't reconcile the two contradictive ideas of a kind, loving, charming person that you initially met and a horrible, abusive person that you're now seeing. We tend to hold on to our first impression and so disregard their abuse or make excuses for the behavior so it can fit with our initial image of them being charming, kind, and loving. Our mind will not accept that it was an illusion and the narcissist is a toxic person. This is how narcissist abuse works. So what's the difference between narcissist abuse and just unpleasant behavior? Well, a narcissist might belittle, bully, accuse, blame, shame, threaten, criticize, rage, undermine, block you, give you silent treatment or other abusive behaviors. While ordinary people might do some of these sometimes when triggered, the intensity and frequency of these are far higher in narcissistic abuse. In narcissistic abuse, it's a pattern that repeats itself and there's no acknowledgement of their wrongdoing or change in behavior to avoid harming you in the future. In a healthy relationship, it might happen once and they then apologize and change their behavior to ensure it never happens again. Narcissistic abuse is a cycle called the abuse cycle, where they might give a fake apology and then love bomb you to hook you back in, and then the abuse starts all over again. A healthy relationship is not up and down, push-pull. It's stable and consistent. While the narcissistic abuse, you'll get intense love bombing and then sudden and extreme turn to abuse and hostility. So let's look at the 8 signs of narcissistic abuse. Lying. Narcissistic abuse is often categorized by compulsory lying. They lie because they must uphold their false vision of being superior and better than others. Because they can't admit mistakes or be seen as less than, they will therefore lie to infatuate their achievements and avoid looking stupid. They also lack empathy and simply lie to get what they want. They lie to move ahead in life and will happily take credit for other people's work. They lie because they need to cover up their self-absorbed and entitled behavior. The question is, how can you spot this? You look for consistency between what they say and what they do. You look for evidence of their claimed achievements. You see how they treat others and if they lie or cover things up from other people. Let's look at the next one, which is manipulation. Narcissists are excellent manipulators. That's how they get away with narcissistic abuse. They use many strategies to use this and they're all covered in my online course and where I really help people spot these, all in my one-to-one coaching. But here are some of the favorite manipulation strategies. The first one is idolization and love bombing. This is that early intensity where you feel swept off your feet. They shine a spotlight of attention on you, glorify and compliment everything about you and send you overly affectionate messages too early. It makes you feel great to be so appreciated and create a spike in dopamine which make you feel hooked to them and come back once a narcissistic abuse starts. The next manipulation strategy is mirroring. There's a reason they ask you so many questions and are hyper-focused and interested in you in the beginning, which will gradually wear off as they become more themselves. It's because it feels great in the moment to get that kind of attention and interest. However, they're like a chameleon learning how to adapt their identity to hook you in. They disclose intimate information about themselves very fast to make you feel comfortable doing the same, and they ask a lot of questions maybe about you just in the beginning. It gives you so much information. It gives them so much information about you, like your desires, your goals, your values and insecurities, so they can create a tailor-made personality just for you, so they appear to share your interests, values and goals. They seem to be your perfect partner or soulmate in the beginning. Later you'll likely find that they show little or no interest in what you have to say, as they care about themselves, and it was just a show to hook you in. Next manipulation strategy is future projections. They quickly start talking about a future together and, significant commitments like marriage, children, or moving in together. It's all a fantasy that will never happen, but get you emotionally invested in this imaginary future as you imagine yourself with this person who at this early stage is glorifying and appreciating everything about you. These 3 strategies are the main ones used in the first stage of the narcissistic abuse cycle. It gets you hooked, and when they later abuse you and crash your dopamine levels, you will crave them so badly as you associated them with your dopamine high, which is how the trauma bond of addiction is formed. They become your drug. The next manipulation is called triangulation. Triangulation is how they make you feel insecure and therefore more eager to please them. They accomplish this by bringing in a third person. It might be an ex, a friend, a colleague that they hook or pretend is interested in them. They might accidentally pull up a slip of a phone number from their pocket, or talk about this person who was hitting on them and wants to come and stay with them, or they flirt with someone in front of you. They might also purposefully create conflict between you and another person. This can get you invested by defending them, or it can get you unsettled by making you feel attacked by somebody else. They sit back and enjoy the show because they're in control, which is exactly what they want. Next strategy is intermittent reinforcement. The hot-cold or push-pull dynamic creates emotional ups and downs like that drug addiction. You get positive reinforcement at random to keep you hooked, and the rest is abuse, neglect and punishment. This creates addiction and obsession and a trauma bond that is very hard to break. You become willing to endure almost anything to get that positive reinforcement fix. They will withdraw, threaten you, blame you, belittle or attack you, and then at random give you a little validation to keep you coming back. They create fear of loss, and once you're fearful, logic is offline, and we become willing to do almost anything to relieve that fear. Let's look at the next strategy they use for manipulation: blame shifting. They purposefully push your triggers, and then when you respond, they attack and blame you by saying things as, you always get angry, you have an anger problem, or you're crazy, or you're not trustworthy. Or you bring up a concern like their sudden unresponsiveness or anger or cheating, and they redirect your focus away from your concern by dismissing it and pretend shocked that you would even suggest this, and then turn it into blame towards you and attack your character. They will always turn their shortcoming and abuse into being about your shortcomings. The next one is belittling. Direct aggression would make them, appear outright abusive, so they often wear you down by putting you down while pretending to help you. They might say something like, if you just did X, you would actually make more money. Or, I think it would be good if you read more books about social skills so you don't embarrass me in public. Or, I think it would be good if you work out more so you don't get so skinny. Can you see how this is a put down meant to make you feel bad about yourself, but covered up as an attempt to help? They will often in a subtle way belittle you with laughter, eye-rolling, mocking and sarcastic tone of voice to make you feel silly little or dismiss your experience or views. They might belittle you in front of others to lower your self-esteem. The next one they use is guilt. Guilt is a powerful tool that they use to get you to do what they want. It's a very effective tool with their favorite target, the empathetic people with lack of boundaries, also called people pleasers. They play on your desire to be viewed as a good person to manipulate you. They will make you feel guilty about having boundaries by attacking your character or simply giving you the silent treatment. The next one they use is minimizing. They will tell you that what they did is not so bad and you're overreacting. If they do this, you can be sure they will do it again. Only someone that acknowledges your experience, show remorse and change their behavior is trustworthy. This strategy is also used as part of their gaslighting. Be very careful if someone does not acknowledge your experience and show they care about hurting you. Next one they use as a manipulation is silent treatment. They use emotional and physical withdrawal as a form of punishment to get compliance. It's normal in a healthy relationship that a partner might need some space. The big difference is that there would be communication of the need for space in a healthy relationship, and it's not used to punish or get compliance. It creates confusion, uncertainty and anxiety, hoping that you will comply with what they want to alleviate that uncomfortable sensation. It's a way to make you feel uncertain and insecure. Next one is invalidation. Invalidation has become so normal that we hardly even notice it. Many people do it not because they're abusive, but because they just lack empathy or can't manage the discomfort that they feel, and the sense of being able to listen to you. To make their pain go away, they just invalidate your experience. But this is very toxic. It communicates we are not important and our experience is not valid, creating a lack of safety and disconnect. That is some of the manipulation strategies used in narcissistic abuse. But let's move on to the next sign, which is entitlement. As I said, they feel entitled to skip the queue, get the best seat, be served before others, etc., etc. They feel they deserve that treatment because they are superior and exceptional in their own little head. They feel everyone should comply with their demands, and no matter how unreasonable or unrealistic they are, and they get very upset and angry if you don't comply. Just imagine that insecure, emotional, regulated, spoiled child. I always say that is the narcissist. They'll often be rude to service staff or anyone that does not give them that special treatment. It's all about them. There's a total lack of mutuality in these relationships. They show little interest in your needs or when you're stressed. They also get angry when you have boundaries. How dare you not comply with the wishes of the remarkable king or queen that they are in their distorted little minds? If you talk about your stressful day, they will somehow make it about them. The next one that often comes up is rage. Narcissistic abuse is often full of episodes of rage. This can show up externally in them getting very angry, hostile, abusive towards you, or by them punishing you with a silent treatment and perhaps cancel some event or create drama before an important event. The narcissist does not respect other people's boundaries, and they completely lack empathy, so don't expect any remorse afterwards. They will likely find a way to blame you for what happened. Next one in this abuse cycle is the extreme cycles. All relationships have ups and downs, but they have an underlying safety and stability. Narcissistic abuse is categorized by the abuse cycle of high intensity at the extreme spectrum, hence the love feels so intense, and they idolize you and charm you, and then they split and turn abusive and hostile until they change again to suck you back in, and the abuse cycle continues. You get more addicted to the tiny crumbs of positive validation that they provide throughout intermittent reinforcement. Healthy relationships don't have these intense extreme of glorifying each other and then sudden hostility and continue that cycle. The next sign of narcissistic abuse is you're walking on eggshells. A clear sign that you're exposed to a toxic person and narcissistic abuse is how you feel. Do you feel more anxious than usual? Are you fearful of losing the relationship? Are you afraid to express your needs and boundaries? Are you giving up essential parts of yourself to avoid triggering your partner? Are you being made to feel guilty about spending time with friends and family? You are trying to avoid triggering the rage and you can't express your needs or boundaries anymore. Is that happening to you? If you can answer yes to any of these, it's a big warning sign and you're likely stuck in a toxic dynamic. Let's look at the next one. Part of narcissistic abuse is addiction. It's also, as I said, called the trauma bond. You feel you can't be without this person and keep going back after the abuse. You can't stop thinking about them even though they treat you horribly. The initial idolization dopamine rush combined with the narcissistic abuse have made you addicted to them. This is what pulls us back in that toxic dynamic, and to break it, we must treat it as an addiction. It's the same brain parts and neurochemical imbalance as seen in somebody with addiction. That means cutting all contact with the drug, the narcissist, getting a support person, and using alternative ways to raise dopamine and oxytocin that have crashed and also decrease adrenaline and cortisol, the stress. Anyway, that's enough for today. Also check out my other social media profile, and if you have want the free guide to heal from a toxic breakup relationship, or join the free webinar that will also teach you how to spot 5 red flags and manipulation strategies, you can check out the link in the description. I'm also working hard on the toxic relationship recovery program that is launching. It has a massive 36 videos teaching you everything you need to know to heal and turn your pain into joy and never end up in a toxic relationship again. The link again is in the description below. I release a YouTube video every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern European Time, so stay tuned and see you next week.